I'll just introduce myself. My name is Amanda, and I own an online ministry called She is Captivating, and basically just really passionate about women of all ages knowing their worth in the Lord. Attended a private high school, and it was actually Catholic high school, and that was how I was raised, was Catholic. The high school's name is Mullen, and it's in Englewood, Colorado. So I was raised Catholic, and I always believed in God, but I wouldn't say that I was a Christian in high school because I didn't choose my own Christian faith until my third year of college when I was a junior. But I definitely believed in God, and I was a practicing Catholic at the time. Our high school had Mass and all of that, so I definitely was practicing Catholic, but I would not call myself a Christian. Definitely not in high school because I was not very out there about my faith, and pretty much everyone that went to my high school was Catholic, so there wasn't a lot of differences in regards to that. But I would say that once I got to college, it was definitely hard to be a Christian because that was a whole other environment. I went to University of Colorado at Boulder, which is known to be a party school and just not Christian at all. So yeah, I definitely was different, and I stood out when I was in college for my faith. I don't think I was ever bullied or persecuted. I just didn't necessarily fit in once I decided to become a Christian. And the way I dealt with that was I just surrounded myself with people who were, and I found a really good Christian community. So I joined a college ministry called the Annex, and that was really awesome. Everyone was so supportive of each other, and so that really helped me in college. Definitely in high school, even though I said, I wouldn't have called myself a Christian, I was definitely a Catholic and believed in God. The hardest thing to deal with was staying pure. And so I vowed when I was really little to save myself until marriage, and so that was really hard to keep up with that once I got to high school and started having boyfriends and all of that, people did not understand. A lot of the guys I dated didn't understand that commitment. So that was super hard. That was probably the hardest thing in high school and in college. And so in high school, I think I wouldn't say I was that much of a light in high school, if I'm being completely honest. I think a lot of the things I did were out of fear of God, and so I didn't want to get like punished because I was scared of Him, which is horrible because it's so not His heart. And then in college, I decided to be different for sure, and I decided to be more of a light, and that's when I started my blog, was when I was in college. And I think that's how I continue to be a light to others and just show people that there's more to life than, the negativity and chaos. There's so much positivity, and when you're walking with the Lord, it can be super rewarding. So that's how I continue to do that now, to be a light to other people. There's definitely been a lot of times when I should have spoken out. And I think in college, there's a lot of people that I knew that weren't Christian that maybe when I was first a new Christian, I was too scared to really go into depth about my new faith and everything. And now there's definitely times when, there's definitely times when I should speak out when I don't. But I don't ever believe in like regretting something, because I don't think regret or like guilt or any of that is of the Lord. Like Jesus died so that we wouldn't have to have that guilt anymore and that condemnation. So I don't regret it necessarily, but I definitely try at all times when I feel prompted by the Lord to be a witness to Him. Wasn't exactly a Christian in high school, but I went to a Catholic high school, so it was a different environment totally. Like there wasn't all of the like tons of partying and drinking and stuff. There was still some of that, but it wasn't like that as prevalent as probably like public high schools. So that was probably different. And yeah, like I said, the staying pure thing obviously is super different because like most people don't do that in high school, especially people who aren't Christians. High school for me, I would say, was never super lonely. I always had a lot of friends. I would say that when I've dealt with loneliness the most has been actually after I graduated college. The year after that was kind of hard because I was used to living with all of my friends and being around all of them. And I moved back home with my parents, and so that was really hard, and I felt really lonely and kind of like alone in my faith as well. So that would probably be when I felt the most lonely. So the Lord just definitely was working on my heart lately of, in that year of loneliness, really being reliant on Him for everything. And so I got really close to God in that time. And whenever I felt lonely or felt like I wanted friends or more people to hang out with, I would just go to Him. And I feel like He taught me that He alone is enough, even when I feel like sometimes I need friends or I need community. Those are all really good things to add to my life, but I don't need them because I have the Lord. So that's what He taught me through that. Yes, definitely. I've dealt with that a lot in high school. I definitely felt like my purity was something that was a curse for a while because like guys would break up with me because of it, and it just like wasn't something that I saw super valuable to my life for a while. So I definitely had times where I felt like maybe I should just go with what everyone else is doing and give up my purity. But I'm so glad I didn't. It is so worth it now to still have that, and I'm so glad I never gave into that. I think that there's been times when I was first a new Christian that I was like iffy about it, and I didn't want everyone to know me as like the Christian girl. Now, obviously, I've gotten over that because that's how people know me. People from my past are like, oh, she's just like a Jesus freak now. And I'm like, cool. That's how I want to be known anyway. Yeah, I definitely in high school struggled, like I said, with going with the crowd, but I always just remember that promise I made to myself and to God, and and I always held on to that, and that was kind of how I stayed true to myself. Also, just like knowing who I am in the Lord is really helpful, and knowing that He sees me as worthy and He sees me as special and unique, and that's all that really matters. Yeah, I could say that. I mean, there's been people, once I started She is Captivating, that have contacted me that definitely are like, wow, the words that you've said like super touch me. And I think that there's times when I write something and I'll be like, oh, I don't know if this is even that good or if people are going to get anything out of it. And then people will message me and be like, wow, that really helps me through a really hard time. And so I think that God uses my ministry way more than I even can comprehend that He does. And a lot of times I feel self-conscious and like inadequate. And He always proves that like He's doing something through me. the best thing is that I stayed pure and that I didn't give in to the temptations. Because like I said, now I'm 23 and I'm not married yet, but I'm just like so happy that I kept that purity for when I do get married. It's something that's super special to me, and I know it's going to be worth it one day. Yes. Especially since I became a Christian in college. After that, I decided I would never date anyone who wasn't a Christian. It's super important to me. It's like the number one thing I look for. And so that's like the highest standard. And then obviously someone who not only is just a Christian, but is also really pursuing the Lord and putting him first. That's super important to me. Someone who encourages me in my walk with Christ and leads me well. And yes, before I met my current boyfriend, there was a lot of times when I probably dated someone who was way less than God's best for me, and I knew it. I just was lonely at the time or felt like I wanted to settle because everyone else around me was. And so I definitely felt that at times. And those relationships actually ended up never working out, obviously, because God wasn't behind them. And they were really painful times in my life. So I definitely have settled in the past. I don't know if it's like you can avoid it just by like ever entertaining the idea of that. Like if someone comes that's pursuing you and they're not a Christian, for me that's just like automatically no. Just because it says that in the Word, and so it's obviously God's best for us to date people who are equally yoked with us, and so you can avoid it by just not even ever entertaining it. So I think if you start to entertain it and you think like, oh, maybe I can change them, which you can never change them, yeah, that's the dangerous road that you go down. Then you start like trying to date them to make them a Christian, and if any of you are watching that or doing that right now, it's a path that leads to a lot of pain and hurt. So that's how you avoid it, is you just don't even entertain that thought. I guess temptations, like as far as like giving up your purity, for me the biggest thing is like you have to have someone that is respecting you on that and also wants to pursue purity, and so therefore like you can kind of team up on that, and it makes it a lot easier. So that's how I would say that. Just make sure that someone that you're with is on the same page as you, because it can just, if not, like the pressures can sometimes get to you, and so it's not a very good situation to have someone who doesn't want purity as well. You have to be a complete person in yourself and know your worth in the Lord before you ever can be with someone and have a healthy relationship. So there was a lot of seasons in my life where I had to really be single and like really work on myself and my relationship with the Lord and become a whole person and know who I am in Jesus before, so that I don't get my worth from whoever I'm dating at the time. There's definitely times, like I said, where everyone was dating around me. I felt like the only single person, and I knew that the Lord had someone out there for me, and so just holding on to knowing that God is enough ultimately, and that if He sees you fit to be married, like you will be married, and it'll be awesome. And just to like really focus on God, especially in high school. Just a lot of guys are just not at that level, maturity wise and spiritually, that you want them to be at. And so it's hard to wait. But a lot of times when guys get older is when they really start to come into their own and like know themselves and know the Lord better. And so I would just say like wait, especially if you feel like the guy you're dating isn't leading you spiritually. Just keep waiting, because eventually it's so worth it. Like it's definitely so worth it. Being single actually is such a gift. You can learn so much through it, and it's such a valuable season, such a sweet season with Jesus where He can really be everything for you. So I would just say, like, focus on the good things about it. Like, focus on the fact that you'll never have another season where it's just you can rely fully on Jesus alone. And I think that that is such an amazing, valuable season, and you can have him change you from the inside out, make you the best possible woman, so that when you do meet whoever you're going to marry, you're already complete, you're already whole, you already know your identity in Jesus, and there's nothing better than that. You will not ever regret, like, embracing a season of singleness to allow God to do the work that he wants to do in you.